Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast in the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I am your host. I am so excited today to talk about a topic that I know I get a lot of feedback from, and that is betrayal. And I've got probably the preeminent person on betrayal in the entire world today. But before I introduce her, I just wanted to give a brief show note, and that is head to thedivorcedadvocate.com. The divorce quiz is still up on the website. It is a fantastic tool to help you gauge where you're at mentally and emotionally in your divorce compared to others who have gone through it. And if you do that, we can spend a brief time together reviewing those results and see where we might be able to help you out. So check that out at thedivorcedadvocate.com and click on the divorce quiz tab. So my guest today, she is the founder of the Post Betrayal Transformation Institute and is a holistic psychologist, a health mindset and personal development expert, the author of the #1 best-selling book, The Unshakable Woman: 4 Steps to Rebuilding Your Body, Mind, and Life After a Life Crisis, and her newest book, Trust Again: Overcoming Betrayal and Regaining Health, Confidence, and Happiness. Her recent PhD study on how we experience betrayal made 3 groundbreaking discoveries that I'm unbelievably excited to talk about today, that changes how long it takes to heal. In addition to being on Fox, CBS, The Dr. Oz Show, TEDx twice, and more, she's an award-winning speaker, coach, and author dedicated to helping people move past their betrayals, as well as any other blocks preventing them from the health, work, relationships, confidence, and happiness they want most. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Debi Silber. Debi, welcome.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, absolutely. So, that's betrayal is something oftentimes that comes up in divorce. And I think we'll agree that it's probably not something that's it's probably a symptom of something that's much deeper, and we'll probably get into that. But before we do, we really talk about specifics, share a little bit with the audience about what got you into, a little bit about yourself, but also what got you into studying betrayal. Because who wants to be more immersed in betrayal, right?
Exactly. There's not a person I can imagine that says, I think I want to study betrayal. What an interesting topic. No, you study because you have to. It's actually my 30th year in business, and I started in health and then mindset and personal development. And then I had a really painful betrayal from my family. Thought I did everything I needed to do to heal from that. A few years later, it happened again. This time it was my husband. So I got him out of the house, and I looked at the 2 experiences, and I thought, well, what's similar to these 2? Of course, me. But what is similar? And I realized I never really took my own needs seriously. Boundaries were always being crossed. I never was even on my own to-do list, So I decided something drastic had to happen. So here I was, 4 kids, 6 dogs, a thriving business, 50 years old. And I'm like, I'm going back for a PhD. I didn't have a clue how I was going to pay for it, how I was going to manage it, but I knew this was a really important step to take. And it was in transpersonal psychology, the psychology of transformation and human potential, because I was changing so much. I didn't quite understand it. He was too on his own, wasn't ready to look at that yet. And then it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal. What holds us back? What helps us heal? And what happens to us physically, mentally, and emotionally when the people closest to us lie, cheat, and deceive? That study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries, which changed my health, my work, my family, my life.
Wow. That's amazing. So let me clarify. You said, so you sent him away, which means you guys you separated.
Absolutely. Because and this is what I found. We're so afraid of the complete and utter death and destruction of the old, but that's what betrayal creates. But it's only with that crash and burn can we rebirth something new. You mentioned I did 2 TEDx talks, and the second one, do you have post-betrayal syndrome? I talk about betrayal and this unique type of trauma, and it is a unique type, and that was one of the discoveries. And I use this analogy of a house. And I explain the difference between resilience and transformation. Resilience is like restoring, bringing back, and you need that for your everyday. Trauma and transformation is a whole different thing. And that's what betrayal creates. So using the analogy of a house, it's like this. Let's say your house needs a new boiler and you get a boiler. That would be resilience. You're restoring it. You're bringing it back. Let's say it needs a roof. You get a roof. That would be resilience, right? Here's trauma and transformation. A tornado comes by and levels the house.
Right.
A new boiler's not fixing it. A new roof's not fixing it. Both aren't fixing it. But here's the thing. You have every right to stand there at the lot where your house once stood and mourn the loss of your house for the remainder of your days. And you can call everybody you know over and say, isn't this the worst thing that's ever happened? And everyone would agree. And you have every right to really kick, scream, cry, whatever you want to do. However, should you choose to rebuild your house, there's nothing there. Why build the same one? Why not give it everything the old house didn't have? You see, that's the opportunity in betrayal. And I know some of your audience is like, opportunity? She's full-blown crazy. No, it's really true, because you have this opportunity to, at the very least, create this entirely new version of you that never would have shown up had that not happened. And rebuilding is always a choice, whether you rebuild yourself and move on. And that's what I did with my family. It wasn't an option to rebuild with them. Or if the situation lends itself, if you're willing, if you want to, you rebuild something entirely new, like an entirely new house with that person who hurt you. That's what I did with my husband. So not long ago, as 2 completely transformed people, we married each other again. New rings, new vows, new dress, and our 4 kids as our bridal party.
Wow, that's fantastic. So the audience doesn't think you're crazy because they hear me say all of the time that their divorce is an opportunity. They might think that I'm crazy and you're crazy, but at least you're supporting now, and you're much smarter than I am. And so maybe if they haven't been listening to me, hopefully they'll listen to you. But let's talk then about some of the symptoms of betrayal, kind of what happens, and then let's get into those 3 groundbreaking things that you've discovered.
Yeah, sure. So the symptoms were part of one of the discoveries, but the first discovery was, I had been through, originally I was studying betrayal and post-traumatic growth. And for those who aren't familiar, post-traumatic growth is like, if you imagine an upside of trauma, how any trauma, death of a loved one, disease, natural disaster, whatever, leaves you with a new insight, awareness, perspective you didn't have, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe you lose someone you love and you realize life is short, something like that. But I had been through death of a loved one. I'd actually been through disease too. And betrayal felt so different for me, but I didn't want to assume. So I asked all my study participants and I said, if you've been through other traumas besides betrayal, does it feel different for you? Unanimously, every single one said, oh my gosh, it's so different. Here's why. Because it feels so intentional, we take it so personally. So the entire self is shattered and has to be rebuilt. Rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust, they're shattered, right? And so to rebuild, so it didn't quite qualify as post-traumatic growth. It's like, yeah, it is post-traumatic growth, but you're also rebuilding the self. So I coined a new term, which is post-betrayal transformation. That's the complete and total rebuild of your life and yourself after an experience with betrayal.
Okay, so that's incredibly important, I find, for men, particularly when they're going through divorce, because this identity really gets turned upside down to put it nicely, and oftentimes completely destroyed and just confused.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And that's why it is such a different experience. We have a lot of divorced men coming into the PBT Institute, and I'm finding that as well. And this is with men and with women. It completely upends your life because it's the shattering of so many things, of yourself, of your worldview, of your expectations. So even if the divorce had nothing to do with a betrayal, it really is. It's like a betrayal of expectations. You thought happily ever after, here we go. And so it's in that change and that redefining of who you are and who you want to become now. It is so I love that you're sharing with your community the opportunity, because it absolutely is. I see people so healthy, so healed, so whole, so confident and strong, showing up once they've done the work because of what they've been through. That door closed, a new one opened that never would have shown up had they not experienced that. Right.
And let's talk a little bit about that work, because one of the things that I get oftentimes is, and this was my personal experience too, is really wanting to know why, right? Needing to know why, which oftentimes we never get that answer to.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, it's a really challenging question, because how can you possibly understand why someone breaks that spoken or unspoken rule, right? Especially, like, I live so simply. My rule of life is, if it's going to hurt someone, don't do it. Period. End of story. And I assume other people live that same way. And I'm always shocked and amazed that that's not the case, right? So how do you really understand the motivation behind what someone does? It's almost impossible. What I can tell you for sure is betrayal will show you who someone truly is, or who they temporarily became. So as shocking and eye-opening as it can be for the betrayed, it can be as big of a wake-up call for the betrayer.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Jude with a quick reminder about the Divorced Advocate Foundation for Fathers, which is our nonprofit that helps dads through divorce with legal education, free or reduced cost coaching, and mental health resources. If you own a business or know someone who does, there's an easy way to help by connecting credit card processing through our partner program. Part of the fees go straight to the foundation with no added cost to the business, and 98% of businesses are actually able to save money on their processing fees. It's a win-win. So if you know a business that accepts credit cards, get them in touch with me by sending a warm introduction email to jude@thedivorcedadvocate.com, or give me a call directly at 720-255-1021. Oh, okay. Now that's really, really interesting, because while we're in our hurt and in our pain, we're not necessarily thinking about what they're going through and what they're doing.
And we shouldn't be. Because here's the opportunity. This is the opportunity to completely take a look at who we are, who we want to become. And one of the biggest downfalls I see with so many people is the only intention is that they stay together. But it is such a perfect opportunity to grow. And here's what, I'm going to give you like a little, you'll never forget this. Ready? If everybody can see my hands here, I will show you something.
Yeah, and we'll describe also for those listening.
For those, okay. So when we're in relationship, we're here, right? We're just we're at this, whatever, let's say low level, right? And then there's a betrayal and a complete and total crash and burn of the relationship, right? We're so lonely, our hearts are so broken. All we want to do is reconnect with that person or someone else right away.
Right.
And the problem is we're not healed. So we're bringing not our best selves to this relationship or a new one. This is the opportunity to grow physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. Now, if we're so bent and intent on staying with this person, and then we grow, you know what we wind up doing? And this is what my first TEDx was about: stop sabotaging yourself. All we do is we keep sabotaging ourselves so that we don't outgrow that person. But we like it up here.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is then we want to be here and we're like, well, why can't they do this? Well, they're not ready.
Right.
So what happens is if we are so intent on making this work and we do our work, very often we get this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, what happened to you? And we're like, oh, we're not the least bit interested in you. So the idea is when you're healing, your only job is to do this. Now, we have no idea if on their own, that other person says, I better rise to meet the strength of this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they can't, or maybe they're unwilling. Either way,
right.
Our job is here so that whether it's this person or someone else, this shows up. That makes sense?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I describe that as staying in your own lane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on your lane and what you need to be doing in order to take care of yourself. Like you said, do the healing, take care of whatever, do the growing. It's a growing period, right? Like you're transforming. Well, there's that word, right? Your word that you use. You're transforming into somebody who is different, and whether or not that person is going to, come along or not come along, you can't really control.
No, and you actually, betrayal lends itself to creating an entirely new identity. You bring the parts you love and you
Mm-hmm.
leave behind everything that no longer serves. And you get to create that. Like, for example, I'm such a driver, so I'm so hard on myself all the time. And I get lost wherever I go. It's just what goes on. So I allow extra time because I know it's going to happen. I just happen to get lost all the time. Anyway, I used to always get angry at myself. Oh, that's so stupid. Why'd you do that? All these things, berate myself. And then I realized post-betrayal, I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like being so hard on myself anymore. I just don't want to do that. So from now on, when I get lost or do something that the old version of me would have criticized and said all these nasty things, now I'm simply adorable. So when I do these things, I'm just adorable. So for example, I just flew in Saturday night. I'm bi-coastal and my husband picks me up at the airport, and I happen to mistakenly book a driver to pick me up as well. So I land. My husband's like, okay, I'm outside waiting. And I get a text from the driver, let me know when you're walking outside. And I'm like, oh, no. So I tell my husband, and he's like, you're adorable.
So now he's telling you you're adorable too.
The whole family has to go along with it. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, so I find that fascinating. If you could share a little bit about, because you alluded to, I was doing my thing and he was just off.
Yeah.
Like clueless, not like in his own thing. So so a couple things. Share a little bit about your story, and then how you guys ended up kind of getting maybe to that level, or at least to a place where you were comfortable being together again. Because I think a lot of people listening would like to try to figure out a way to save their marriage. And ideally in our community, that's what we want to do. If there's an opportunity, nobody wants to get divorced. Nobody wants to go through the divorce. If there's an opportunity, and betrayal makes it unbelievably difficult. What was that process for you? Yeah. Or what is that process in general when you know that the other person just is totally clueless?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. And this is really about, and I want to get to the other discoveries, because one of them truly is how we get through the experience. And the stages that we will go through as we get through the experience. But to answer your question, my intention was just to heal. And I write all about it in Trust Again, my personal story, my study participant stories. And that wasn't on my radar. It's my clients, my kids crash, kids crash. Like that's all I could manage in the beginning. Yeah. And in that healing, I started to see things clearly. Now, one of the reasons why I probably healed as quickly as I did was here I was doing the study on it. And I was learning things and implementing them for myself. Now, on his own, he was the one who told my kids. So I think if anything is going to have you wake up and fall from grace, it's realizing you just lost everything that matters.
Wow.
And to have your 4 kids look at you like you did what to mom? And I think on his end, that was the wake up call that he needed. And then from there, it was, again, my intention was just to grow and just to make sure the kids were okay. And I'll never forget though, he said, what do the huge regret, remorse, apology, everything. But it was what the heck did I do? And what can I do? And I said, listen, of course, we have the kids in common, but just so you know, I happen to be very spiritual. And that was something that, he just made fun of or whatever. He's like, tell me what to read. Tell me what to do. Just give me something. And I gave him a few suggestions. And then he would text me, things that he read and what it did for him and how it changed him and what he was learning. And he took to it, and he's an extreme personality. So as much as he became that version that I didn't even know who he was, he became another version of someone who all of a sudden he's handing out, Wayne Dyer DVDs to all of his guys in his office. And he's training to work at hospice and sit with people. And he's going to New York City and sitting with the homeless, telling them they matter. I'm like, what happened to, who is this? But it was so, and he just took to it and ran with it and saw himself so clearly. And, the biggest thing with betrayal is for the betrayer is that shame. Of course, there's so much more, but that's huge. So how do you heal shame? You bring light and honor to it. So he called all my friends and apologized. He was doing the work with all of the kids to make it right and really took it seriously. I mean, got rid of the fancy car and the clothes and who he had become, and it was this evolution. And that's what was going on in his world, where in mine, I was simply doing the work to heal. And that's where the biggest growth happens, because my growth was totally up to me. His growth was totally up to him. I wasn't even considering anything, anything about reconcile.
Right. So that brings up an interesting point in that. So this was a wake up call for him also. So this became an opportunity. If you can take it, and we talk about this also to have the mindset of what is this telling me about a relationship, myself, et cetera, as opposed to looking at it externally, like, why is this happening to me?
Well, and here's something. And for those of you listening, watching, who have been betrayed, if you have to say this to yourself 100 million times, it's worth it. And it's, even though it happened to you, it's not about you. It's not. Right. This is someone's lack, someone's hole, someone's void, and someone's past trauma. I mean, there are so many reasons why people do this. It's not about you. You're the unlikely recipient of their behavior, but it's not about you. And that is one of the hardest things to understand, because we do take it so personally. But yeah, that is truly the experience. Yeah.
And for those listening who have done this, right? I have clients, and there's many men that are in the community that have betrayed somebody. What do you say to them too?
Well, I say, I want to acknowledge that this is, it can be your biggest wake up call and opportunity. And this can turn you into the man you're meant to be. Yeah. If you use it in that way. And, you right the wrong however you can. And the shame you feel, if you're feeling the shame, the shame you're feeling is not serving anyone. And shame is one of the most physically destructive emotions we have. So instead of feeling that shame, if you do something to right that wrong, however you can, at least then you're sort of paying it forward. You're making sure the next generation or people in your world don't do the same thing and cause the same pain and wreak that same havoc. Then it's trauma well served.
Right, definitely. And the shame goes to feeling like you're a bad person, and people make bad decisions. People oftentimes aren't bad people, even if they've done something like this. They just have. So if you can change your behavior, like you just said, if you can do stuff to change the show, then that's going to help you know and understand that you're not bad, and get rid of that shame, and also try to remedy the situation. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you try to remedy it with no expectation of what you'll get. You're doing this to write your own experience and
to transform.
That's really what this is. And that's why when the betrayer is doing that on their end, and when the betrayed is rebuilding their heart and their life and their body and their health and their mind and all of that on their end, it really does create that opportunity to heal and transform and create something entirely new.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the other findings.
Yeah. So the second one was that there's actually this collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's known as Post Betrayal Syndrome.
Oh, okay.
And we've had probably about 35,000 people on our site take our Post Betrayal Syndrome quiz to see to what extent they're struggling. And a few things about that quiz. One is there's a question that reads, is there anything else you'd like to share? And we've all heard time heals all wounds. I have the proof when it comes to betrayal. That's simply not true.
Yeah, right.
Because people write things like, my betrayal happened 35 years ago. I'm unwilling to trust. My betrayal happened 15 years ago. Feels like it happened yesterday. So we know betrayal is a very different experience. The other thing is there are physical, mental, and emotional symptoms that people just assume, oh, well, it's just stress. It's just aging. No, it's not. It's your betrayal. It's your unhealed betrayal. And it could be from decades ago.
Wow. And what are
those?
I
have stats. I pull them every few months. I'm happy to share some if that would help.
Yeah, please. What are some of those symptoms?
So now imagine I have men and women, every age group, just about every country represented.
So that was going to be my next question. So is this across the board, or is it specific to genders?
No, across the board.
Okay.
So these are just some of the stats. 78% constantly revisit their experience. 81% feel a loss of personal power. 80% are hypervigilant. That's exhausting. 94% deal with painful triggers, and those triggers can take you right down. The most common physical symptoms: 71% have low energy, 68% have sleep issues, 63% have extreme fatigue. So you could sleep a whole night, wake up, you're exhausted. Those are your adrenals that have crashed. 47% have weight changes. So that could be maybe you can't hold food down in the beginning. Later on, you're using food for comfort. 45% have digestive issues. That's anything from Crohn's, IBS, diverticulitis, constipation, diarrhea, you name it. The most common mental symptoms: 78% are overwhelmed, 70% walking around in a state of disbelief, 68% are unable to focus, 64% are in shock, and 62% are unable to concentrate. So imagine you can't concentrate, you have a gut issue, you're exhausted, and you're trying to work and manage your kids and everything else. That's not even the emotional ones. Emotionally, 88% have extreme sadness, 83% are angry. Bouncing back and forth between sadness and anger can be debilitating and exhausting. 82% feel hurt, 80% have anxiety, 79% are stressed. Here's why I wrote the book Trust Again. Ready? 84% have an inability to trust. That's like living half a life if you don't build that back. 67% are preventing themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. Right. 82% find it hard to move forward. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how.
Wow. That's
pretty staggering, huh?
Yeah. So you can only imagine how that just paralyzes your life.
Absolutely. And it shows up in health and work and relationships. Like, for example, in relationships, I'll see it in one of two ways. I'll see it in repeat betrayals. If you have a repeat betrayal, that's an unhealed betrayal. You keep getting opportunities in the form of people to teach you something, right? Until and unless you do, they will keep showing up. So people say to me all the time, what the heck? I keep going from partner to partner to partner, friend to friend to friend, boss to boss to boss. The face has changed, but it's the same thing. Is it me? Yes, it is.
Yes,
exactly. Not that it's your fault, in that it's your opportunity. We see it as in relationships. The other way is the big wall goes up. You're like, nope, been there, done that, not letting anybody close to me again. We think it's coming from a place of strength. It's not. It's coming from fear.
Yes,
We were so
absolutely.
brokenhearted. We're like, I can't take a chance on letting that happen again.
Right. And
That's
you mentioned it real early when you were describing your experience, which was, oh, I'm the common denominator.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's my fault. It
Right.
means
Exactly.
there is a beautiful opportunity here. This
Mhm.
version of me isn't attracting betrayals because, first of all, my BS meter is so sharpened and strong now as you
Mhm.
move through the stages, which is the next thing that I'll share.
Mhm.
But there's no need to repeat those experiences. The lesson's been learned.
Yeah.
Me joining that PhD program was the first and biggest thing I had ever done for myself.
Wow.
And there's that saying, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Right.
Right.
So that was a
Right.
huge change, which not only changed me, my family, it's, changing thousands of people because of
Right.
it. So,
Which goes back again to the mindset. If something's happening in your life, if you can utilize that as with a mindset, and this is really, so it's so much easier to say than it is to do, but if you can use the mindset of what is this supposed to be helping me to see or understand or learn or transform, as opposed to why is this happening to me, it can be absolutely huge, particularly during divorce. So maybe there is no reconciliation, but if you use that mindset, don't go out looking for just another partner, because of exactly what you described. Is guess what? You're going to find the same one. And I like I can speak from experience. I went out, there could be 100 women in a room, and I will find the one that is going to perpetuate that unhealthy dynamic in my life. And let me tell you, I did. And not just once, but more than one time, until I had the realization that you stated, which is, oh, well, the common denominator is me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. It really is this opportunity. If we see it that way, we will not see it that way early on. And that's why even in the 5 stages, and like I said, that's what I'll share next. It's very strategic when we do a certain activity that actually has you seeing the benefit of your experience. Now, if I were to say that early on, someone is like, lady, you're crazy. Benefit. Right. I mean, they're furious, right? But when you're going through a certain amount of healing, then all of a sudden you're willing to consider it. You may not want to thank your betrayer just yet, but you're still willing to see the benefit of it. So it all goes along a certain timeline and in a certain order. And then it's really, really profound and effective.
Right. So this might be part of the stages, but what advice can you give to get out of that victim mode initially?
That's actually that is so common to the most common stage we get stuck in, which is stage 3. And as I go through them, you will see exactly why. And it's interesting, when you were reading about me, I realized, oh my gosh, Trust Again only came out last year, but my newest book, From Hardened to Healed, is actually coming out on October 5th. And it is specifically for stage 3, because I notice that once you get into stage 3, I can even say the majority of people stay there. Transformation doesn't even begin until stages 4 and 5. So we are so shortchanging ourselves. And the beauty is, once you know the stages, it's totally predictable. You know what stage you're in, you know what you have to do to move to the next.
Well, let's talk about them then.
Sure. So they're all in Trust Again. It's what we teach within the Institute. It's what all of our certified coaches are certified in, the 5 stages, but I'm going to share it with you here. So stage 1 is like before it happens. And if you imagine sort of a setup stage here, if you imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. What I saw with everybody was a real heavy lean on the physical and the mental, right? The thinking and thinking and doing, and not really, and really neglecting the feeling and being, right?
Yes.
So that's not to say if you're busy, you will be betrayed, but it's just a typical profile we saw. So if you only have 2 legs of a table, easy for that table to topple over, right?
Yep.
Stage 2, by far the scariest of all of the stages. And this is shock, trauma, D-Day, Discovery Day. And this is the breakdown of the body, the mind, and the worldview. So this is like where that person takes a mask off and reveals who they've been. And so there's a breakdown of the body. You have just ignited the stress response. Now you're headed for every single stress-related symptom, illness, condition, disease. Your mind is in a complete and total state of chaos and overwhelm. You can't wrap your mind around what you just learned. This makes no sense. And your worldview has just been shattered. Your worldview is your mental model, the rules that prevent chaos and govern you. Don't go there, trust this person, this is okay, don't do that, right? And in a moment, every rule you've ever known to be real and true is no longer. The bottom is bottomed out. Right. And the new bottom hasn't been formed yet. So it's terrifying. But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You grab hold of anything and everything you could to stay safe and stay alive. That's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. It's the most practical out of all of the stages. If you can't help me, get out of my way. How do I survive this experience? Who can I trust? Where do I go? How do I feed my kids? Right? It's the most practical. Here's the trap. Once you've figured out how to survive, because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma of where you just came from, you think it's good.
Yeah.
You have no idea there's a stage 4 and stage 5. So you sort of reason with yourself, okay, we got this. Let's figure this out. And you start planting roots. You're not supposed to, but you don't know that. And then 4 things happen. The first thing is you start getting these small self benefits from being there. You get that victim story. You get to be right. You get someone to blame. You get a target for your anger. You get sympathy from everybody you tell your story to.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to do the hard work of learning to trust again. Should I trust you? Can I trust you? Forget it, I'm not trusting anybody. So you plant deeper roots here. Again, transformation doesn't even begin till stage 4. The next thing that happens is because you're here longer than you should be, now your mind starts doing things like, well, maybe you deserved it. Maybe you're not all that. Maybe this, maybe that. So you plant deeper roots. Now, because these are the thoughts you're thinking, like energy attracts like energy. So now you're calling situations and circumstances and people towards you to confirm, yep, this is where you belong. By the way, the misery loves company crowd, they come along now too. Deeper root. It gets worse, but I'll get you out of here. Because it feels so bad, but you have no idea there's anything further. Right here is where you resign yourself. You're like, this stinks, but I guess this is it. So I better find a way to make this work. So right here is where you start using food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, keeping busy, reckless behavior, anything to numb and avoid and distract yourself from what's so painful to feel or face. So think about what happens. You do that for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 10 years, 20 years. And I can see someone 20 years out and say, that emotional eating you're doing, or that drinking you're doing, or that numbing in front of the TV you're doing, do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? And they would look at me like I'm crazy. They'd say, 20 years ago. Do you see? All they did was put themselves in stage 3 and stay there. That makes sense?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then it becomes a feedback loop where you're going to experience it again, and then you're going to go through 1, 2, and 3 again.
That's
and
why.
then maybe add another thing onto that, and then do it again, and then do it like until you can figure out how to get out of it.
That's the whole thing. And that's why most people stop and get stuck in that stage 3. And that's why from hardened to healed, I'm coming for the stage 3ers, because I see that's where they land and that's where they stay.
Right.
So, and they have no idea, because their experience could have happened, I'm not kidding, decades ago.
Yes.
Anyway, if you're willing to let go of the small self benefits and all you're getting from it, you can move to stage 4. You grieve, mourn the loss, bunch of things you need to do. You move to stage 4.
Well, can we talk briefly about how can you get out of that? Because our society is designed to keep us in that stage from the minute we wake up in the morning to the time our head hits the pillow at night. We can find a distraction or a numbing agent or something else to be able to not have to do that. How can we, when we get it, what is maybe just a few red flags that we're doing that and a way in which to get out of that?
Yeah. I have these questions that I ask members of our community, and I'm happy to share them. And this will totally let you know if you're stuck. We actually have a new quiz that is designed to let you know, but I'll share that another time. So these are 4 questions, and I invite everybody to write these down. That's my way of saying write these down.
Yes.
Ready? The first,
grab a pen, please.
The first one is, am I numbing, avoiding, distracting? If so, how? Call yourself on it. Do you walk into the kitchen, you're not the least bit hungry, you raid the cabinets, right? Call yourself on it. Do you walk into a room, you put the TV on just to drown out the sound of your own thoughts? What are you doing? Be honest. The second question, what am I pretending not to see? Right? Am I pretending not to see there's trouble in my relationship? Am I pretending not to see that health issue that needs my attention? Am I pretending not to see I hate my job? What am I pretending not to see? Be honest. The third question, what's life going to look like in 5 to 10 years if I keep this going?
Wow.
We don't want to play that out. Play it all the way out. Exactly what you're doing. Take that out into the future, 5 to 10 years. And what does it look like? Doing exactly what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
The fourth question, what can life look like if I change now? I'm not saying it's easy. Transformation begins when you tell yourself the truth.
Yeah. Those are some tough questions to ask yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But it makes no sense to not be honest with yourself, because your best version of you is waiting.
Right.
And doesn't have an opportunity to show up when you're playing small.
Yep, absolutely.
And you've been through the worst of it already. So you owe it to yourself to do something good with something bad.
Right. Yeah. And get out of that fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Want me to go through the rest of the stages?
Yeah. 4 and 5, sure. Please. Yeah. Well, I was just so important because it's so easy, and that's where we get stuck. I know that's where I was stuck, right? That 3. It's like, man, it's just, it's the devil that I know.
It's 100%. I mean, that's why I realized, I said, wow, you know what, even though Trust Again walks you through all of the stages from hardened to healed, is for those people who don't even know they're stuck. Yeah. So it's sort of like I'm selling to an audience who doesn't even know they have a problem, but it's really true. If you're not maxed out with your level of joy and success and abundance and love and everything, you're stuck. Yeah. You're stuck. Yeah. So that book is for them. Anyway, cool. So if you let go of the small self benefits, grieve, mourn the loss, bunch of things you need to do, you move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. So here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo my experience, but I can control what I do with it. And I always use the example of, if you were to move into a new house, office, condo, apartment, whatever, your stuff's not all there. It's not quite cozy yet, but it's going to be okay. And when you're in that sort of mental place, you turn down the stress response. So you're not healing just yet, but at least you stop the massive damage you were causing in stage 2 and stage 3. What I found so interesting to stage 4 is also this. If you were to move, you don't take everything with you. You don't take the things that don't represent the version of you want to be in your new space. And what I found was, if your friends weren't there for you, right here is where you don't take them with you. You've just outgrown them. So people say to me all the time, what the heck? I've had these friends 10, 20, 30 years. Is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. Right? And if they don't rise, they don't come. They just don't come along. Right. When you're in this place, you're mentally making it home. You move into the 5th most beautiful stage. And this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The body starts to heal. Self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. You didn't have the bandwidth for that earlier. You were surviving. Now you do. Your mind starts to heal. You're making new rules, new boundaries based on your experience. And you have a new worldview based on the road you just traveled and what you see so clearly now. And the 4 legs of the table, in the beginning, it was just all about the physical and the mental. By this point, we're solidly grounded because we're focused on the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
Wow. That's fantastic. So you've come full circle then. And I love your, the analogy, the 4 stool, the 4 legs of the stool, the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, because we talk about that all of the time in the show. And so I want to I want to like wrap this up in saying that, so really when we're going through this challenging time in divorce, that it is exposing those, right? It's exposing one of those things missing. And if one of those things is missing in the relationship, and even in your relationship with yourself, then that's when things are going to teeter. And if maybe it's one and it's teetering, but if it's two, it's probably going to fall. That's the red flag that you're talking about, or that's the sign of, okay, what am I lying to myself about? And I love that you say that too, asking those hard questions. Just, you got to ask the hard questions. And if you have good friends, ask them to ask you the hard questions.
That's it. And here's the thing. It's like, I didn't do anything anybody else couldn't do. I mean, I just remember moving through the experience and moving through that program saying, if I can heal from this, I'm taking everybody with me.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just it. But it's just now that people know the stages, there's a predictable roadmap.
Yeah. And for men, that is such a huge thing, right? Because we're linear. We want to have we want to know the direction. We want to.
Well, I was going to say, especially for men, you don't have to ask for directions. Right?
Exactly.
We have them.
No, hey, we go through this, and this is part of our, part of my structure with our community. It's we go through things in a different process and in a different way than women do, and that's not good or it's not bad. It's just how it is. And so having the steps, and that's why I love that you have, like, this is a transformation process. You have steps. When I'm trying to teach, I'm trying to teach steps. That's beautiful, because now we know, okay, here's one, here's two. I'm in three and I'm stuck.
Predictable, research based. I mean, so this way you just have to truly say, which stage am I in? And this is what I have to do to move to the next one, the next one, the next one.
Right. That's amazing. So how can those listening get a hold of you, get in contact with you, learn more about everything that you're offering?
Oh, thank you. So I think the first step, really take the quiz to see to what extent you're struggling. And you could find that at the PBT, as in Post Betrayal Transformation, thepbtinstitute.com/quiz. Also, if trust again would serve. And here's the thing, I wrote it also because at a time where we need support the most, we're the least likely to seek it. So this way you have a book in your hands, or the Audible or Kindle. I did the Audible version of it. You could get that, but get it from this link, because then you get all kinds of bonuses too. And you could find that at thepbtinstitute.com/trust again.
Yeah, that's huge. I know that would have been incredibly helpful for me early on to just figure that out, to be able to get
too. That's why I wrote it.
that hurdle. And I love quizzes. So yeah, go check out the quiz because that helps you gauge then, right, where you're at and what you're doing. So Dr. Debi Silber, thank you so much for all of these pearls of wisdom. Everybody who's listening, please go check out all of those resources. I think you're going to get like a rush of people, because I'm going to go and check it out after I'm done too, because I'm interested in, some of the stuff that you described. I still do some of those stuff. So some of that stuff. So I gotta, it's a sign, right? And this is just a reminder for me. I learned as much talking about this stuff and trying to be self-aware. And then anybody who's listening, please, if you found some value, like us, subscribe to us, leave a comment, share it. Most importantly, share it with somebody else, because the more people we get this information out to, the more people we can help. Debi, thanks so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.